Hello, this is Dominic from the Jack and Dom Radio Show, a weekly sports radio program, and although we broadcast on professional hardware, we do record our show mostly on my laptop, and sometimes I don't press record right when we start. Some shows will start right in the middle of a topic. Regardless, this show is a work of love and passion for sports with raw and transparent opinions between the two of us. So I hope you all enjoy. Hello, this is WPX 91.5 FM HD1 Marquette. This is the Jack and Dom Radio Show. Jack, how are you doing today?
I'm good. A little snowy outside, though.
It is very snowy, and just to remind everyone, the opinions said in the show do not represent the opinions of this radio station or the university. And if you so choose, you're able to get the recording of this show where you find your podcasts, whether it be on Amazon, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. We also are now on social media, so if you choose, you can currently find us on Twitter and Facebook. Just look up the Jack and Dom Radio Show. That being said, there is quite a few things to talk about today. That being a lot of March Madness, but also some local stuff. There is something that I have been working on very hard with the recreational sports department, as well as some of the people at Michigan Tech to get going. Is the first ever intramural All-Stars game between Northern Michigan and Michigan Tech. It is now 100% official. It will be on April 18th at Houghton. Don't ask me why it's in Houghton, although I will tell you it's because our varsity team lost twice to their varsity team. It was mainly going to be on point differential because there are two games. So if you go 1-1, we lost them both. Just don't bring that up to the varsity team. They will not be very happy because it's a big deal for them. That being said, we did beat them in the Gilliac
and then lost in the tournament for a final overall record of 1-3.
I know,
a little bit disappointing there.
That be another. And then to be on this all-star team, your intramural team has to get to the semifinals to at least have your team be able to pick two of your team's players to then be on this all-star team. And if you're in the finals, you get to pick three. So that's basically how that works. Alpine skiing finished exceptionally well in nationals. There are a few different things that they do simultaneously. So there's a bunch of different things that they did. So for what's called I do not know what these are. Someone's gonna have to explain to me. There's the giant slalom and then the slalom. I don't know what that is. I should know.
Slalom,
that's how you pronounce it. Well, for the women's giant slalom,
close enough.
They finished 22nd of 27. But for the regular slalom, they finished second of 27. So they got silver. And then for the men's giant slalom, they finished third. And then for the regular, they finished third as well. So
what a performance.
It was a very, very good performance. And so when I make my NMU sports tier list, you will see them at the top where they deserve.
One of the only teams at NMU that will be in the S tier, I hope.
I'm still yet to see what the club softball team is going to end up because their season is still continuing in the spring. But so far they won regionals.
Yep, they're on the brink of S tier.
And they're on the brink of S tier. We'll see what happens from that. Our Nordic skiing team will play in nationals, the NCAA nationals tomorrow at Lake Placid in New York, which, if I remember correctly, the Olympics took place there a few decades ago. I don't know.
Sounds about right.
Was that the Miracle on Ice? Was that year in 80? Was it 88 or something?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Okay.
I think you're onto something there. And finally, the lacrosse women's team started the season 6-3 with a 20-1 win over SVSU's brand new women's lacrosse team. They have 2 losses to ranked teams. So overall, when you're playing,
Pretty good.
Not top tier competition, 6-1 is definitely something to be excited about. And we look forward to the lacrosse team continuing
the games that you're supposed to win, you're winning.
Right, which is important. And We want to see them do well in the GLIAC, obviously. Not much going on in the local sports world at the moment.
We'll see how it happens with Grand Valley, because still the only NMU team to beat Grand Valley at all so far this year is the men's basketball. Everyone else, L's or a tie.
Well, let's hope the lacrosse team can break the streak, so to speak.
And it seems like there's a third person in the room, Jack. Who did you bring? We have a special guest. Who did you bring today?
My younger brother is a special guest on today's show because my family is in town, and he can go ahead and introduce himself.
That's awesome.
Alrighty.
Hey, you don't have to speak right in the microphone, but just go right ahead. I'm sorry.
So, yep, as we said, I'm Jack's younger brother. I like sports probably as much as him, if not more.
Hi, Jack's younger brother.
All right, my name is Alex.
There we go.
Probably should have led with that. I am a Michigan fan, definitely not a State fan.
Yeah.
We're outnumbering him 2-1. It's a great day.
Beat him in basketball.
Still part of the cult. Anyway, keep going.
Football. So yeah, I also filled out March Madness brackets, and as you will find, neither Jack nor myself are very good at it. But
Neither am
Our
I.
job.
No one is. That's like the point.
All right.
There's so much luck.
So, speaking of March Madness, let's do a blitzkrieg type run through the round of 64, and let's talk about what happened and how we got to where we are now.
Yes.
So, in typical fashion, you had the top seed in the entire tournament, Auburn, blow out Alabama State. I don't think there's much to say there.
Yeah, no 16 seed upset this year.
And really not a lot of upsets across the board. But we'll get to kind of some of those overall trends in a minute.
And by the way, as we go through these, I have the tournament bracket that we did together last week. So I'll just note in on when we got them right and got them wrong.
And we'll do the same thing for my personal bracket and Alex's personal bracket. So next up, you have Louisville Creighton,
which we got incorrect.
which I also got incorrect.
So
we're 0 for 3 on that game. I bought the media hype on that one. I thought the ACC was the top conference this year, and I had Louisville going all the way, I believe, to the Sweet 16, which did not pan out. Mm-hmm. So not great on my part. So Creighton wins that one. Our Wolverines,
barely,
San Diego,
barely.
I just want to put out there, though, that Michigan is, according to the national media, incredibly underseeded. And in my opinion, UC San Diego, other than Memphis, which lost in the first round, ironically, but other than Memphis, in my opinion, and maybe Gonzaga and St. Mary's, was the best non-Power 5 team, and I think should have been seeded at maybe a 10 or 11.
Okay.
St. John's is a Power 5 team. Because, for those of you that don't know, the Big East is a Power 5 conference in basketball. And so St. John's, Marquette, Villanova, all those teams are considered Power 5.
Which, by the way, for this game, we got correct.
Yep, I think all three of us got the Michigan game correct.
Yep.
Refused to let Dom pick UC San Diego.
Well, I thought it was going to be Michigan as well, but I didn't think it was going to be this close.
But I think it proved just how good of a team UC San Diego is, and I think when they go against a team that, unlike Michigan, does not have a ton of success in March, I think next year they're going to be a dangerous team. Speaking of dangerous underdogs, Texas A&M and Yale, I picked Yale.
We picked Yale. We got this one wrong.
And I picked A&M.
So, 1 for 3. My brother got this one right.
So the Ivy League school did not win their game this year.
They kept it close, but it just didn't happen.
No.
Another one I screwed up. I had UNC upsetting Ole Miss. Ole Miss ends up winning the 6 versus 11 matchup. Looks like Alex got that one incorrect as well. Did we get that one right?
We did not get Ole Miss.
So 0 for 3 on Ole Miss.
Wow.
This one was also a pretty easy pick, I think. Well, I shouldn't say also. We've had a lot of tough ones lately. But Iowa State over Lipscomb. They win by 27. Not much of a question there. I think we go 3 for 3 there.
Yeah, we got that one correct.
Easy game.
So what I did was, in addition to about the 15 brackets I made, is as the games were happening, I predicted the winner. So I predicted with my friends and my brother that New Mexico would win this game.
Yep.
Unfortunately, my bracket says Marquette.
Mine does too.
Well, the one that we did together has New Mexico winning, so we got this one correct.
So I'm glad I changed my mind when we made our bracket.
Yes.
Okay. Another one that was no question, 2 versus 15, MSU, pretty obvious.
Yep.
We got 3 for 3 there.
Sadly.
Florida, Norfolk State, a 1-16 matchup. Not much interesting there. They blow them out.
Yep.
Florida considered the top team in the country for a reason. Norfolk State's coach actually went on during his press conference and made a joke about, well, at least we kept it close and didn't lose by 30 because the spread was 30. So not a close game there. We have the 8 versus 9 game, UConn, Connecticut. I had UConn, which was correct.
I also had UConn.
And we had UConn.
3 for
so we got
3.
that one correct.
That one was a good one. Okay, moving on to the 5 versus 12, which, by the way, Memphis was the only mid-major team seated above a 7 seed. They get defeated by Colorado State, who was nearly the Cinderella of this tournament, which I got correct.
I got it incorrect.
Did we get it right?
We picked Colorado State to win this game.
Woo! All right.
Got that one correct.
Here's the one that I royally screwed up.
Yeah.
I had Grand Canyon beating Maryland, and Maryland won by 32 points.
Yes.
So I was incorrect. I picked Grand Canyon.
I also picked Grand Canyon.
We picked Grand Canyon, so we got this one wrong.
0 for 3 on that one. Okay. I had Drake over Mizzou in a 6 versus 11. Drake, I thought, was another underseeded non-Power 5 team. I ended up being correct.
Yep, they were 30-3, so I went ahead and picked Drake as well.
This is the one where we got this one incorrect.
I think you and I disagreed, and I think you insisted on Mizzou.
Okay.
Which, it's fine. You
it
and
was
I...
by 10 points.
Right, you and I had some... I got some right,
Yeah.
you got some right, but that was one of the ones that you talked me into picking Mizzou. All right, Texas Tech, UNC Wilmington, not much there. I think we go 3 for 3 on Texas Tech.
That is correct.
Yep.
We picked Texas Tech.
Kansas, Arkansas. I picked Arkansas. I didn't trust Kansas, who was a pretty mediocre team this year, so I correctly picked Arkansas. It was a close game, win by 7, but Jonell Davis, it's just a stud. We'll talk about him again later. Arkansas ends up winning by 7. Really interesting matchup, though, because you had 2 of the winningest coaches of all time in Bill Self and John Calipari, and John Calipari ends up winning that matchup. What did we have?
I believed in Bill Self. I believed that Hunter Dickinson would finally do something for Kansas after getting stolen from Michigan, but nope. Arkansas definitely was able to get the win, unfortunately.
Who do we have?
We picked this one incorrect.
Is that another one you talked me out of?
I don't remember. Fortunately, there is a recording of the podcast, so you can definitely look back
You'll
if
have to
you
get
want
back to me.
Yeah.
All right. St. John's over Omaha, another one that I don't think there was a lot of question there. St. John's by 30 in a blowout. Rick Pitino with another signature tournament win. Same deal with Duke against Mount St. Mary's. Again, not a lot of question there, although Duke winning by almost 50 points proves to you that right now they are the title favorite for a reason. Cooper Flagg is a unicorn, and they are going to be a threat throughout this tournament.
The St. John's game, by the way, we did pick correctly, just because I know you skipped by that. But yeah, we also...
Yeah, I was going to say, the 115 and the 116 and 215s we kind of implied are correct. Okay.
It being Baylor.
Mississippi State Baylor, I had Baylor winning.
This one was
in a
close.
Real close game.
I also picked Baylor. I really like VJ Edgecombe. I like what he can do, so I was definitely picking Baylor.
And yes, we did pick that one correctly as well.
I just thought the SEC in general was overrated in terms of the bottom half of the SEC, and ended up being correct. The top half of the SEC is going to contend for a championship, but some of those lower level teams like Missouri and Mississippi State were just not up to par. I did, however, underrate Arkansas, which we'll get to in a minute. Okay, here's where I try to get cute and pick some upsets, and it burned me. Oregon smashes Liberty to pieces in the 5-12
Like they deserve.
matchup. And Arizona smashes Akron to pieces, both of which I got wrong.
I picked Oregon to win. I really like Dan Lanning, and I did as well pick Arizona to win. I like Caleb Love, so I went 2 for 2. I think Arizona is a very good team. I think they always find a way to lose in the tournament, but I mean, Duke should beat them, but if they beat Duke, I think they could be a champion this year.
Dom, what'd we do?
We picked both of these correctly.
See, I told you, our bracket is in better shape.
It's not necessarily because I like Oregon, even though I do like Oregon in this matchup. It's just I hate Liberty as a school and a program and a culture. So I just don't like them for political reasons, but we will not get into that today. And yes, we did pick Arizona over Akron as well.
So 2 good picks there from our shared bracket. Not so great for my bracket. I think Arizona is going to be a contender from here on out, and they beat Oregon in a thriller, which we'll get back to. Okay, BYU VCU. I think it was a popular upset pick, but I have BYU winning that. was a decent game. BYU by 9, but I think BYU had control throughout. They've got some sharpshooters on that team, and after that Wisconsin game, I think they are ready to make a run.
I picked VCU. I thought they could run back the magic from a long time ago. I still don't think BYU is that good of a team. I think when they get AJ DeBanza, the number 1 recruit, pretty soon, I think then they'll be very good, but I had VCU going pretty far in this bracket.
We picked this one correctly.
I think one thing
BYU.
interesting about BYU is they thrive in close games. They seem to sink their shots when they have to.
Yeah.
Which sounds a lot like a local team that I just so happen to watch quite often. Okay, Wisconsin over Montana. I don't think there was much question there.
Yep, we picked this one correctly.
Yeah, I think fairly straightforward there. Wisconsin's got some elite guards in Blackwood and Tanji and tore Montana to pieces. Okay, in a game that was a little bit closer than I thought it would be, St. Mary's wins in a heartthrobber, 59-56 over 10 seed. Vanderbilt, once again, the bottom half of the SEC, not really showing out in this game. I picked this one correctly.
I picked it incorrectly. I had Vanderbilt winning, and they led through most of the game, but they couldn't hold on.
And when we did our shared bracket, we got this one incorrect. We thought Vanderbilt was going to...
I believe this is one of the ones I talked you into, so that was my bad.
Well...
All right, Alabama over Robert Morris, which was surprisingly close. Alabama was in real trouble in the first half. But Alabama pulls it out and wins by 9, which I believe we all got correct.
Yeah, that is correct. Yes.
Okay. Another 16-1, not much question. Houston almost doubles up SIUE. Just a ridiculous game.
Yep.
Not much question there. Houston looking dominant in that one. Gonzaga, Georgia. Gonzaga was my sleeper pick for this tournament, and they started off on the right foot by beating Georgia by 31, which I had correct.
You'd think the seeds would make it a little closer, but...
Well, I think Gonzaga was a heavily underseeded team going into the tournament because they play in a less good conference and don't have good competition. But, I mean... It's the same thing.
They
with
will
Gonzaga,
have better competition next year
when they move to the Pac-12.
Yes.
But I think when it comes to Gonzaga and UConn, like when you have these teams that consistently make deep runs into March, I think you can't count them out. And I did not. Ultimately got that one correct.
Yeah, I mean, easy pick. I'm more confident in Gonzaga than I am in any of the 3 seeds. I mean, that was an easy game.
So we got pick.
three. We got this one correct.
Okay, here's where I once again got cute and decided to pick an upset. Well, I picked the non-upset, then I picked the incorrect upset. So I had Clemson beating McNeese, and had Clemson, my roommate and I were watching this together. Clemson would have won that game, but at the end of the game, when Clemson was trying to catch up and they were sinking some shots, they were walking up the court. I was like, wow, I guess it's a nice Sunday jog, because they had no urgency, and ultimately in the end, McNeese, Amir Khan, and the Aura hang on to beat Clemson, which I honestly think Clemson would have beat Purdue had Clemson escaped that. But ultimately, McNeese wins, and I get it wrong.
I had McNeese winning. That was a very bad game for most of it. But Clemson, they made, I think, 6 straight threes coming to the end. I turned it off when they were up by 20 because I was like, all right, I picked McNeese.
It was
a
close game.
Awesome. I was sweating the way home.
If Clemson would have had a bigger sense of urgency, I think they would have sank a game-winning 3.
Well, for our shared bracket, we got this one incorrect. We picked Clemson to win this game.
Okay, I picked the sexy upset pick next. High Point over Purdue. Ultimately, Purdue handles them with ease. Trey Kaufman-Renn, just too much to handle. And ultimately, I get that one incorrect.
High Point did keep it pretty close for a good majority of the game. Purdue was able to pull away in the end. I had Purdue winning that game. I do like Trey Kaufman-Renn, and Purdue's probably still a little bit hungry for revenge because everybody remembers that loss to Fairleigh Dickinson. So they're still looking for something in the tournament.
Well, we got this one incorrect. We picked High Point for this game, but no, Purdue makes it out even without their graduated super tall.
No more Zach Edey.
No more Zach Edey.
They continue to generate big men. Illinois over Xavier, which I think
they probably grow them in a lab.
Fairly straightforward matchup. I think I had Illinois winning, and they handle it by 13. Illinois was another team that I thought would do really well in this tournament, and you'll see in a minute they did not, but they handled Xavier with relative ease, so I got that one correct.
I picked Xavier. Just bad pick. I was not confident in Illinois, not confident in many of the Big Ten teams, but Yeah, I picked Xavier. Did not happen.
This is the one where we got it correct as well. So we picked Illinois for this game.
I really think I should have made a paper bracket with the picks that I made like in real time because only my roommate knows about those. But you'll see in a minute that there's a couple incorrect picks that I got correct when I did them with my roommate.
Mm-hmm.
However, Kentucky-Troy I don't think was much of a debate. Kentucky wins easily. Just too good for a team like Troy. They are a dominant SEC program and a team that I think has a shot to make a Final Four.
Maybe if it was Oakland, something would have happened, but Troy just did not have that same 14 seed magic. I picked Kentucky. Fairly easy pick.
Yep, and we got this one correct by picking Kentucky.
Okay, here's the one that I got correct when I was chatting with my roommate earlier this week. I picked UCLA. However, my bracket says Utah State, so on paper I got this one incorrect.
I was very confident in UCLA. I had them going deep in almost every bracket I made. I picked UCLA in this one.
This is the one where in our shared bracket we got incorrect. We picked Utah State, and they did not do well at all.
Okay, and then Tennessee Wofford, the last matchup of the first round, 2 versus 15, pretty self-explanatory.
Yep, we got that one.
Tennessee has some ballers.
Yes.
And they win that one with ease.
Yeah, but we got that one correct.
Okay, we move on to the round of 32 where it gets interesting because obviously if you pick the first round matchup incorrectly, second round matchup then becomes automatically incorrect. So, as an example, I had Louisville over Auburn. However, Louisville didn't win the first round. So, my pick is incorrect. However, we're going to do this by the honesty system, so it's going to have to be honest here. Once the second round was set, and we'll go around because for those of us that got this matchup wrong, which is me and Dom, did we get this one wrong as well?
We did.
Okay, so for those of us that picked Louisville in the first round, once I knew that Creighton was their opponent, I picked Auburn. Alex, who did you pick for this round?
I had Auburn beating Louisville instead of Creighton. I did not see Creighton being that good at shooting, but I had Auburn winning either way, making the Sweet 16.
What did our bracket say?
Well, our bracket just says Louisville over Auburn.
So we got it wrong, but when you were watching that game or when you saw that was the matchup, who'd you have picked between Auburn?
I probably would have still picked Louisville.
No, I mean Auburn and Creighton.
Or Creighton, I'm sorry. I would have probably picked Creighton.
So I had Michigan over Yale. I ended up being correct because Michigan beat A&M. That was a thrilling game, and the 12-point differential doesn't do it justice. Roddy Gale, the supposed Ohio State
I still think that
double agent.
Yeah, if it was Michigan versus Texas A&M, I still would have picked Michigan. I think Michigan is very underseeded.
I think so too. And even though Texas A&M is one of the best scorers in the country, Wade Taylor IV was invisible, and Roddy Gale, the supposed sleeper agent for Ohio State, went off for 26 points. Vlad Golden also had a nice game. LJ Kaysen, our freshman off the bench, was also solid. So a really good Michigan win over a quality opponent.
I had Michigan beating A&M. We were down 10 pretty late into the second half, but we were able to dominate rebounding, and we finally were able to make some shots. Golden had just excellent game. So many rebounds. And we were able to beat Texas A&M. I predicted that, but Jack was correct. A 12-point differential does not do this game justice until the very end. Very good contested matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This is one that I think a lot of people in America got wrong, myself included. I had UNC in this game, but I still picked ISU to win.
Yep.
And in person with my roommate, I also picked Iowa State.
Do you know how far we on our shared bracket we had Iowa State going?
Final Four.
The finals.
The finals?
I think
you had them winning in the Final Four. Please tell me we did.
Our champion. Okay.
Final Four.
Florida. Okay, yeah, Final Four, losing to Florida.
They were also Final Four in my personal bracket. But I picked that one in person too. Once I saw they were playing Ole Miss, and Ole Miss dominated them.
Yeah,
it was a blowout till late. And I think that's why we get to our Sweet 16 picks. It's going to be a tougher matchup than you think against Michigan State because that Ole Miss team was firing on all cylinders against an elite ISU team. But I was incorrect on my bracket and in person.
I had Iowa State beating UNC, whom I picked before. I mean, nobody saw Ole Miss being this dominant. I'm not just being a Michigan fan. I'm confident that Ole Miss will contest, if not beat, Michigan State. Ole Miss has looked incredible.
And we'll
this
get to
tournament
that
so
in
far.
a little bit when we pick our Sweet 16 and we do a show bracket for the Sweet 16, the quote-unquote Redeemer bracket.
Yeah.
Michigan State beats New Mexico.
No surprise.
No, New Mexico, another good underseeded team, but you knew Michigan State was going to win. They were losing at half. They locked in. They won. I had Marquette in that game, but I had Michigan State winning, so I was correct there. Again, both on the bracket and in my discussions with the people around.
I had the exact same as Jack. I had MSU over Marquette. Always confident in Marquette. Always confident in Shaka Smart. Always fails. But I had Michigan State winning regardless.
I believe we had that as well.
Yes.
Okay. Florida over UConn is an interesting one. My bracket says Florida over UConn, so I'm correct. However, when I was chatting with my roommate, with my brother, in person I picked UConn. So, bracket correct, my personal prediction incorrect.
I had UConn beating Florida. I thought that they could pick up some momentum. UConn has done a lot of good as a low seed before. I'm still not super high on Florida. I had UConn winning that game. Another gut-wrenchingly close game, but I picked it incorrectly.
Yeah, so we picked this one correctly when I was watching bits and pieces of this game, and that scared the out of me. Like, wow, that was close, you know.
The living daylights.
Yeah.
That was a thriller of a game, though.
Never done that on the show.
Florida only won by 2, and towards the end of that game, I really thought Connecticut had a chance and just couldn't pull off the upset win. Speaking of almost pulling off upset wins, I had Colorado State on my bracket. I picked Maryland in person because I didn't trust Colorado State once I saw that matchup. And one of the most controversial finishes you'll ever see.
Yeah.
Arguably a travel.
I mean,
it was certainly heartbreaking for Colorado State, but I think regardless of whether or not there was a travel by Maryland at that end of the game on Queen's layup, I think what's important to remember here is Colorado State had the ball, the shot clock was gone, and they took a 3 with 7 seconds left on the clock.
Yeah.
You can't do that because you give the other team time.
Some time.
And it was the time they needed to end up winning.
Just enough.
When you're going for a last-minute win, you got to wait until there's 3 seconds or less on the clock. Even if you have a good look, you got to wait. I understand they trusted their defense. They thought they could pull it off. But at the end of the game, that was really poor game management. Ultimately, it made my bracket incorrect and cost Colorado State the chance to be a real Cinderella team.
Yep, that game, I mean, Colorado State should have had it. They fought so well. I think all of America was rooting for one lower seeded team to
absolutely.
make it.
And they were one of the last chances left.
Yeah, just poorly managed. You can't give a team 7 seconds. Like, you remember the Michigan game against Maryland? 5 seconds, just drove in for a layup. You can't defend it. In 7 seconds, they're going to score a basket. I had Memphis winning this game, so I was really, really out of it. And when I picked in real time, I had Colorado State winning. I'm confident in Maryland. I think in the regular season, very not clutch. Lost to a bunch of buzzer beaters, but this tournament, they dominated a decent Grand Canyon team, and it was a clutch game against Colorado State. So I think Maryland could go further, but I was out of the loop. I had Memphis over Grand Canyon this game.
Okay.
I was watching bits like after the game, like the coach was in a post game interview, and he was obviously asked what did you do in the last 7 seconds. They didn't even run a play. Literally the coach just asked the guys,
trusted the team,
who wants the ball, and the one guy was like, give me
their star player,
give me the ball, ball, and then they just, I think they just played like an ISO play, got him the ball, and he got him to the promised land.
He's going to be a top 15 pick, I think, this year in the draft. He is a stud. Texas Tech over Drake, which I picked both in person and on paper. I guess not paper, it's electronic, but you get the idea. I thought Texas Tech would make a deep tournament run. They are a very elite team with a very good coach in not Chris Beard, but they are a very elite team with a very good coach. Yeah. And they ultimately win that one, so I was correct.
I had Drake winning this matchup. Texas Tech really flew under my radar this year. I'm starting to see it. I mean, UNC Wilmington put up a fight for most of their first game against Texas Tech. I was not confident in them. I had Drake winning that game.
Well, in this game, I mean, we have Texas Tech winning over Missouri, so technically we got this pick correct.
Well
But
played.
against Drake, that was a pretty solid game. But,
Okay, here's an interesting one. My roommate, when we were talking about who we picked this one correctly because, quote, he likes the Arkansas Hawks.
yeah.
Not basketballing reasons. But I think a team that a lot of people thought would make a deep run, myself included, I think I had them to, I want to say this, the Elite Eight. Arkansas batters St. John's. Again, two legendary coaches, Pitino and Calipari. Calipari comes on top, wins 75-66. Sends 10 seed Arkansas, which, by the way, is sadly the lowest remaining seed and not an underdog because they're in a Power 5 conference, to the Sweet 16, which I picked incorrectly both on paper and in person.
Yeah. Arkansas is not a good shooting team. I really was not. I had them losing in the first round. I had Kansas beating St. John's. I didn't love St. John's, but I mean, I'm shocked Arkansas won that game. Really, really bad shooting team.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, yeah, I had Kansas winning, so I just didn't have it. But I picked St. John's to lose, so that should count for something.
What do we have?
We had St. John's winning over Kansas.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Okay, another obvious one, Duke over Baylor, won by 23 points. No tournament out there.
Yep. Easy pick.
Not a tough one.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this one we got correct.
In person, when I knew that Liberty was not in this game, I picked Arizona over Oregon. So in my in-person picks, I was correct. However, I thought that Liberty was going to be the Cinderella team of this tournament, and that did not materialize. So in the bracket, I ended up being incorrect.
I had Arizona winning. I really like what Caleb Love can do. Arizona has lost. I remember when they lost to Princeton as a 2 seed. This team loses a lot in the tournament. This year, I've really been feeling like they can do something different. So I picked Arizona in this bracket and in most of my brackets.
And this one we picked correct. So we have Arizona beating Oregon to move on to face Duke.
Okay. Another really controversial game here. And again, one that I picked both incorrectly in my bracket and in person. BYU beats Wisconsin on a questionable call by Wisconsin. You get the ball to your best player and you shoot a contested 2. Certainly a disappointing outcome. My roommate was devastated as a Wisconsin fan. Big upset there, and I think BYU has upset potential against Alabama. BYU moves on thanks to their sharp 3-point shooting, and I get this one incorrect.
Yeah, it was just a pitiful play call at the end of the game. I mean, they gave the ball to their best player, and he just ran into the middle of nowhere and shot up a terrible shot that missed. I mean, there was just nothing going on. I had VCU going to the Sweet 16. I did have Wisconsin losing, but I'm not super confident in BYU. I think they're probably the worst team left in this tournament. I just don't see BYU going anywhere, but I had VCU winning this game.
And this one we had picked correctly, having the Mormons, aka BYU, beating Wisconsin. I just like saying it like that. Sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, we have this pick correct. And by the way, before we move on, because it is the bottom of the hour, for anyone who is just joining us, this is the Jack and Dom radio show here on WUPX 91.5 FM HD1 Marquette. Now, Alabama, St. Mary's. What happened there?
So sadly, I picked St. Mary's in my bracket, but when I made my picks with my roommate, I got Alabama correct. So maybe I should just pick with my roommate in the future when making my brackets, because that went quite well. But Alabama ultimately beat St. Mary's by 14. Not much of a shadow of a doubt. Sears is one of the best players in America, if not the best. A star-studded guard. He's going to cause problems for BYU in that matchup, and Alabama wins comfortably, but my bracket does not.
Yep, I had Alabama winning. I am pretty confident in Alabama. I thought they were going to contend for, the whole year. They've been a very, very good team.
They are a sleeper national title contender.
Sears, as you said, incredible player. I had Alabama in a couple of my 25 brackets. I had them beating Vanderbilt in this bracket, but yeah, I've had Alabama going very far in almost all of my brackets.
Well, in this game, we had Alabama versus Vanderbilt, but we had Alabama winning that game.
Right,
so we got this pick technically correct.
Okay. The next game, my bracket says Houston, but when I saw Houston Gonzaga, which was my pick, I thought for sure, I was like, maybe Gonzaga wins this. Still picked Houston and ended up being right, but I was correct. This is an incredibly close matchup. Gonzaga just unlucky at the end. Houston moves on, but right now, in my opinion, they look like the shakiest 1 seed left in the field. Gonzaga really put up a fight there, and Houston-Purdue is going to be quite the game. this coming weekend.
Yeah, I picked Houston in this game. Houston immediately, I think they were leading 24-12. They were leading by a lot early in the game, but Gonzaga is a very gritty team. They almost clawed their way back. I had Houston winning. Right now, if you'd ask me, I think Purdue has a very, very good shot. But yeah, I had Houston winning in this one, even though they are not looking too great for a 1 seed.
This one we had correct, having Houston beating Gonzaga.
Okay. Next up, I had Clemson, which obviously Clemson was not in the tournament.
Yep.
Once I saw it was McNeese Purdue, I knew Purdue would win. Sadly, that doesn't count in my bracket, though. So I was incorrect because I picked Clemson.
I picked McNeese to beat Purdue. I really liked McNeese from last year. I remember last year they beat Michigan when I thought Michigan was going to be a good basketball team.
In the tournament?
No, in the regular season.
Oh, okay.
Michigan did not make the tournament last year. They went 8-24, I believe. But I really believed in McNeese, but they just got flattened by Purdue.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't 14 points close. They just got trounced.
Well, this one we had Clemson over High Point, but if I had the choice between Purdue and McNeese, I would have picked Purdue, ending the potential Cinderella run with McNeese and having one of their star
Team manager.
Team manager
Amir Khan.
Yeah, which has NIL deal.
Several, actually.
Which is ridiculous. As a team manager myself, that's like amazing, and I'm a little bit jealous.
Well, he's now moved on to NC State and bigger and better things.
Apparently, you can go to the transfer portal as a team manager. No, that's not what happened. But yeah, he is. Where is he going to?
NC State with the coach.
NC State. Wow, that was like quick. I know.
Another really good game. Kentucky,
Someone
Illinois.
made a trading card of that guy, by the way.
All right. Kentucky, Illinois. I picked Illinois in my bracket, but I thought Kentucky would win the game. And ultimately, I was incorrect. I overestimated the Big Ten. I did pick Kentucky in person, although Alex insisted I did not. I remember picking Kentucky, but either way, I was incorrect. Illinois loses to Kentucky in a not-so-close game.
I had Kentucky winning this game. I had Illinois losing in the first round. I had Kentucky beating Xavier. I really like this Kentucky team. I have them going very, very far.
Now, even though we do have Illinois and Kentucky getting to this game, we pick incorrectly.
Yeah, me too.
By saying that Illinois wins.
And then Tennessee, I had winning this game. I thought it was going to be Utah State, but over UCLA. Tennessee, I think, is going to make a deep tournament run and made their win over UCLA look pedestrian.
I had UCLA going past this game. I had them winning. Their shooting, I remember the Utah State game, UCLA was incredible at shooting. I thought they beat Tennessee relatively easily. I thought UCLA, they were one of my sleepers. Mm-hmm. Very upset. I didn't have them going that far. But yeah, I had UCLA winning this game.
So,
although we had, for our shared bracket, we had Tennessee versus Utah State, we do have Tennessee winning this game.
So, interesting thing. Alex and I's brackets are two of the worst in America. Mm-hmm. And our show bracket is right smack dab average in the middle.
Yes.
So none of us did great on picks, but the show bracket ended up being the best one. So if there's anything you take away from this, making your picks live on air seems to be the way to go. Okay.
So I have loaded on my screen the second chance tournament challenge loaded up.
And I got one more thing I want to do before
Of course, yeah, let's do that.
I want to look at our initial brackets first.
Okay.
And we're going to go over, I just want you to count out of 16, how many of your winners in the Sweet 16 are still alive. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 winners out of the 8 games still alive, which means that I've got a potential for quite a few points. The problem is I picked Michigan, who I don't trust. Okay, so how many do you have alive in the Sweet 16 as far as winners?
I have Auburn, MSU. 6. I have 6 teams. I have the only teams I got incorrect. I got UConn incorrect, and I got Kansas incorrect. But I did have the other 6 teams.
Okay. Alex has 6.
Our shared
5.
Bracket, we have 10. Although, let me.
No. Just the winners of the Sweet 16.
Just the winners. So, we have.
Here.
Yeah. Let me turn the laptop towards you.
So we've got
scroll through.
Michigan and Duke, correct. We got ISU wrong, so it's -1.
BYU.
Okay, so we're -2. So you and Alex have Alex has 7. I've got 5, and the show's got 6.
Okay. I don't know how to count. I should probably go back to
However,
elementary school.
if you look at who we have winning in the Sweet 16 as far as teams that we have still alive, I picked Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
Did you pick Michigan also?
I have Auburn
Alex
over
picked
Michigan.
Auburn. What's the show bracket say? I think we picked Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan, Auburn. No, we have Michigan over
Okay, so we have
Louisville.
Michigan winning. So 2 brackets with Michigan and 1 with Auburn. Ole Miss, Michigan State. I picked neither team, so I can't say anything there.
I have Michigan State in this game. I have them playing Iowa State, but I think Jace Richardson is a very good player. You can, as a Michigan fan, it hurts to say, but Tom Izzo is an incredible coach.
Yeah.
You
Of
cannot
course he
count,
is.
Yeah, you can't count
Well,
him
he's an
out.
alum. We like him here. We just don't like Michigan State as a program.
Sure.
I picked ISU, so once again, I'm eliminated from
That
this.
is
Which I
correct.
believe
Yeah.
we did the same in
We
ours.
did the same.
So,
I made the initial pick. Like, yep, Michigan State's run ends here.
which is interesting because I actually
Now I think it will continue.
I
a little
actually
bit.
thought it might be Michigan State, but Dom was adamant that they wouldn't get past the Sweet 16. So, so far, Alex has 2. I've got 1. My pick is Michigan. Ours was also Michigan.
Yeah.
Okay, Florida, Maryland. Did everybody have Florida?
I had Connecticut beating Memphis.
Okay, so Alex is out there.
Yes.
So we've got, Dom, you should put a tally on a sheet somewhere, like pull up a Google Doc. Or Alex.
Right now?
Yeah,
Oh.
just real quick, because I wanna do something. You can also do it on a piece of paper. So we got 2 picks for Michigan, 1 for Auburn. Who did you have you had Michigan State.
I have Michigan
Neither of us
State.
had Michigan State, so nothing else there. Dom, did our show bracket have Florida?
Yeah, we had Florida over CSU,
Okay,
but
it just matters who's
Florida.
winning there. So put 2 tallies for Florida.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, you're doing it like that.
You know what? You do it.
Okay.
You do it.
There's what we're
I
gonna do. So
can't.
we have game 1. We have
I am burned out.
Michigan.
Alex, Dom, and me. So Alex had Auburn,
You both had Michigan.
and we had Michigan. Game 2, Dom and I were both eliminated. Alex had MSU. Game 3 was Alex is eliminated. Dom and I both had Florida. And we're just going to check later before we make our final 16 bracket how this plays out. Okay, game 4, I picked Texas Tech.
I had Kansas, so I'm out.
Alex is out. Dom, I think we also picked Texas Tech, right?
Yes,
I think Arkansas is actually going to win now, but we'll
we
see.
have this game out.
Okay. Game 5 was Duke, Arizona. I have Duke in mine.
I have Duke in mine.
We have Duke in ours.
Okay, a triple sweep for Duke. The next one I picked Wisconsin, so I'm out, but it's Wisconsin, BYU, and Alabama.
I have Alabama.
We also have BYU over Alabama.
So we've got BYU. Interesting pick. Alex has Bama.
I don't know. Now when we do the new one, I think Alabama would win.
I think so too, but I think BYU is a sneaky pick there.
Yes.
Okay, game 7, Houston, Purdue. I'm out because I thought it would be Clemson because I'm crazy.
I had Houston winning that game. Or have.
Dom, who do
We
you
also have Houston winning.
All right, so Houston, and then game 8.
I
We
have
had Tennessee, Kentucky. I picked Tennessee.
I have Kentucky.
And we also have Tennessee. Tennessee over Illinois, but Tennessee is in it. We should think Tennessee would win.
Okay, so interesting stuff here. All of the picks that, like, when we had, like, the team that we picked correctly, when it was still in the Sweet 16, we have 1 pick for Alabama, or 1 pick for Auburn, 2 for Michigan. Alex is the only one alive in game 2. We picked Michigan State. Dom and I picked Florida in game 3 and Texas Tech in game 4. Duke across the board in game 5. Game 6, we had BYU. Alex had Bama. Game 7, both the alive brackets, our show bracket, and Alex had Houston. And then Dom and I picked Tennessee, and Alex picked Kentucky. So now we get to the last chance bracket, where here on the show, we will make our picks. And Dom, I'm going to give you this sticky note. Keep it safe. Okay, so Dom, go ahead and pull up our last chance bracket. And we will pick the round of 16 games now that we have hindsight, because, hindsight is 2020, to see who will be advancing to the Elite Eight
Yes.
in 2 weeks. So,
Auburn versus Michigan.
I think Michigan is just too prone for turnovers. I think they're too inconsistent. I'm a Michigan fan. I'd love to see
right,
it.
me
but
too.
We turn the ball over.
I echo
too
that.
much.
I think Auburn's going to be a problem for Michigan. I do think it's going to be a closer game than people think.
Okay.
I'm not sure what the spread is. I don't know if the preview tells you if you click on that. But spread is 8.5, I think. I think that's a little
Yes.
high. I think this game is going to be within 5 points. But I think Michigan's magical run ends. We all choose Auburn. Okay. I'm going to do another little thing here.
Ole Miss, Michigan State.
So Ole Miss has looked incredible this tournament. They beat a inconsistent but a very good UNC team, and then they just thrashed Iowa State. Michigan State was a little bit shaky against Bryant.
Yeah, Michigan State has not looked good so far this tournament.
So I like Ole Miss in this game.
I think Ole Miss's run ends here.
I'm going
I
to-
think their luck runs out, and Michigan State will beat them probably within 6 points,
All right,
or at least
Jack.
around 6 points.
Jack, you have to tell
a line.
I echo Dom's pick. I pick Michigan State. But Ole Miss is favored, are they? Is that what I just read? Yeah, Ole
Negative
Miss.
3.5.
Okay, so Ole Miss is favored. I still think it's going to be State. Okay, down to Florida against Maryland. Despite the fact that I think this is going to be a close game, I think Florida is a bad matchup for Maryland because Maryland, I think, struggles against elite guards. And Florida has the size to match Maryland, which Colorado State really did not. I think Florida is going to move the ball quickly, and I think they're going to be able to match Maryland's size. I have the Gators.
I think both of these teams are fairly weak.
Me too.
I do like Maryland, but I think I'm going to pick Florida in this game. They are the better team.
Dom.
I will pick Florida for this game.
All right.
Texas Tech and Arkansas.
I think Arkansas pulls the upset here.
So-
I really do.
This is the battle. Texas Tech is one of the best three-point shooters. Arkansas is one of the worst. I think Texas Tech is just going to destroy Arkansas in the three-point. Arkansas they can't
I think
shoot.
Arkansas is going to win in the paint, and I think Fears is going to have a great game. You are correct that Arkansas's overall three-point shooting is mediocre, but I think Jeremy Fears Jr. is going to be the X factor here. Dom, you are the tying vote.
I think Texas Tech is going to have the edge given the 3-point shooting.
I should also mention that one of the other reasons I think Arkansas will win is because I think Calipari is primed to make a run in this tournament.
He's a very
Okay.
good coach. He has lost quite a bit. I think he has more wins in this tournament than he has in the last 3.
That is correct.
You can't just rely on coaching. Like
Okay.
Rick Pitino, good coach, he lost.
Well, I think an easy pick here is going to be Duke over Zona. I don't think there's much question there. I think Duke is the best team in this tournament. Zona is a good team, and I think they'll keep it close, but I think Duke has to be the pick.
No argument. I think Duke wins that one pretty easily.
I think this is Duke's tournament to lose.
I think so, too.
I think they're favored to win.
Okay,
And we got
here's where
BYU and Alabama.
I highly disagree with the idea that BYU is the worst remaining team in this tournament. That being said, my pick is still, oh wow. BYU is favored -4.5. That being said, I pick against the spread. I pick Alabama.
I do think BYU is the worst team left. The only lower seed is Arkansas, whom I think is very, very good. BYU played VCU close, should have lost to Wisconsin if they could handle the game. I think Alabama is going to win this, and I don't think it's going to be very close.
I think BYU's run ends here, so I also pick Alabama. And
Will you give me that other sticky note for a second? Okay.
we have Houston and Purdue.
So Purdue has looked, High Point played them very, very well, but then against a very hot McNeese team, Purdue just stomped them into the ground. And Houston was very weak against Gonzaga. They were strong in the beginning, but Gonzaga almost stormed back and won that. So I think Purdue is going to be able to beat Houston in this matchup.
I'm going to disagree and pick Houston because I think Gonzaga is one of the best lower-seeded teams in the tournament, so I pick Houston to go to the next round. According to the spread, Houston is favored by a lot. I think that game will be closer, but I still take Houston.
And I will take Houston as well. And for our last Sweet 16 matchup, we got Kentucky and Tennessee.
So my bracket says Tennessee to the Final Four, so I'm really hoping that Tennessee wins. However, given that Kentucky won this matchup earlier in the season, I'm going to pick the Wildcats to go advance.
Yep, I like Kentucky. Kentucky is a very, very winning program. They're still sour about their loss to Oakland last year. I think Kentucky will win this game.
Even though our initial bracket has Tennessee winning, it was over a different matchup.
Correct.
Looking at this now, looking with what's going on, I also believe Kentucky will also move on as well.
All right.
Now we
Elite Eight.
have number 1 Auburn and number 2 Michigan State.
I don't think Michigan State is. I mean, Tom Izzo, excellent. Jace Richardson, also excellent, but I don't think they're strong enough to beat Auburn. Broome is a very, very good player.
Right,
For
Broome
Auburn.
is elite. I think Auburn wins this one by quite a bit, actually. And the reason I think that is because I think State had one of the easiest paths in this tournament. The fact that you faced Bryant, the worst 15 seed. New Mexico, good team, but they're still a 10 seed from a mid-major conference. And then Ole Miss, who are an upstart team, but you're not playing against, a 3 seed or a 1 seed or an elite team. Like, Ole Miss is good, but they're not elite. And so I think when Michigan State finally faces an elite team, that run ends. I have Auburn.
I agree. Auburn is going to win this game.
Even though our initial bracket has Michigan State losing in the Sweet 16 because those are a different matchup, I do think Michigan State does hit a wall against Auburn, and I will give Auburn the win.
All right, so Auburn to the Final Four. Texas Tech, Florida. I still think Arkansas is going to win that game. However, if you're laughing at me like I'm crazy, but I think Arkansas is going to win that game. And you'll see it on the 27th.
But we have Florida and Texas
But
Tech. What do we
if
got?
Texas Tech is here, I think Texas Tech will win. I don't think Florida's that strong of a team. I think Texas Tech will go to a Final Four.
I like Texas Tech's shooting. I think they're a very, very strong team. Coming back to Arkansas, it's just Texas Tech is going to win that game. They're just so much better at
We'll see.
shooting. It won't be close.
I think
Well, it's already 2 for Texas Tech, so
you can still pick your pick, though. You think Florida?
I'm not 100% confident. So I'll in this shared bracket, if it's already 2 for one team,
But you got to pick
I'm
one,
just
though,
gonna.
for my notes.
Oh, then I'll pick Texas Tech.
Okay, so Texas Tech.
We have number 1 Duke and number 2 Alabama.
I got to go Duke. I think Alabama is the only team that could stop Duke with Sears, but I don't think it happens. I think Bama for the win. Duke for the win.
I think Duke wins this game pretty easily. I almost want to say Arizona has a better shot. Alabama is weak against 15-seeded Robert Morris. I don't think Alabama is too strong. I think Duke will win this game without breaking a sweat.
Just by metrics, Alabama is the best team to beat Duke, and I think Sears would give Duke some trouble, but I think Cooper Flagg is going to show why he is considered the top prospect in the country. Duke will win that game.
I think Alabama will give Duke some trouble.
But I still think Duke's got to win.
I would give Alabama probably like a 40% chance of winning. But that being said, I do think Duke will win out in a close game.
All right, Houston, Kentucky. I think this is where Houston's run comes at an end. I think the Kentucky Wildcats are going to go back to the Final Four.
Yep, I agree. Kentucky, I think, will win this game. When it comes to the blue blood programs like Kentucky, when they get upset one year, the next year they just storm back. I think Kentucky's going to keep going. I think they're going to take that momentum to the Final Four.
For some reason, I actually think Houston will win in a close game. That being said, it is 2 versus 1, so we're going to pick Kentucky for this pick.
Well, you would have had 3 1 seeds in the Final Four, which I think is bold. Okay, in the Final Four, Auburn, Texas Tech. Despite the fact that I don't think either one of these teams are that good,
They made it there.
Right, and I think they made it there partially
in our
because
bracket.
some of their best rivals got taken out in earlier rounds.
You only play the teams in front of you.
So I think I have to go Auburn here.
This is
It's a tough matchup, but I think Auburn's going to go to their first final, and I believe that's their first final since Charles Barkley.
Oh,
Was that Auburn?
That was the 80s. That must have been the 80s.
Someone's got to check me on that, but I think that would be the first time they've gone to the final since Charles Barkley. I pick Auburn. I think Broome is going to cause Texas Tech problems. Auburn is an elite defensive team. They are big, and I don't think Texas Tech's three-point shooting, that was the Final Four. They made the Final Four in 2019, but I don't think they went to the finals. Yeah, 1986 with Charles Barkley. But I pick Auburn to go back to the finals. That being said, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Michigan State upset them in the Elite Eight. But my pick is Auburn.
This is a tough matchup. 2 really good teams, but I don't think they're 2 of the 4 best teams in the nation. That being said, I think Auburn will be able to win this game.
You concur?
Yes, I do. I think Auburn will win this game. Then we have Duke and Kentucky.
Okay.
A nice classic
This is going to be a fun
basketball
game
match.
for the old heads that have watched these teams compete 100 times.
Yes.
But I truly think Duke is going to win it here. I don't think they're going to be able to stop Cooper Flagg, and Duke just has too many weapons. I'm going to say Duke.
Yep, Duke is just, I mean, they're so good. I think they're the best team in this tournament. I don't think it's very close. Duke is going to win this matchup.
Now, although I have Houston beating Kentucky and Kentucky versus Duke, I will have Duke winning this game.
Okay, and for our final matchup, our champion,
Auburn versus Duke.
I
think Auburn's run ends here. I think that Auburn gets a little too lucky in too many places, and then they're going to hit a wall against a really elite offense.
Alex?
I think Duke will. I don't think it's actually going to be a very good of a game. I don't know if Auburn's going to be able to keep up with just how powerful Duke is. I think Duke will win this game by maybe by double-digit points.
I think this is going to be an incredibly close game.
Okay.
Actually. But I still think that Duke is just going to end up winning. So Duke, we all picked Duke as our national champions.
Yes, but how many total points will be scored in this game?
That I don't think is super relevant, but let's say 120. 130. You can pick a number. I don't think that arbitrary number is that important.
Yeah.
But I think what's going to be interesting here is will Michigan State, or Alabama mess up our bracket? I think, or Arkansas. I think are
Yes.
the 4 teams
There's
that
potential.
we've discussed. I know I'm on an island with Arkansas, but those are the 4 teams that we've discussed as potential quote-unquote upset picks. So it'll be interesting to see. But with that being said, I think we've covered all there is to cover with March Madness. For those that are interested in tuning in, if you have an interest in the remaining games, Auburn, Michigan will take place on the 28th at 9:39 p.m. That same day, Michigan State will play Ole Miss at 7:09 p.m. So if you are interested in tuning into those games, you are more than welcome to at 7:09 p.m. on the 28th and 9:39 on the 28th, respectively. That would be this Friday if you are interested. That being said, I think that's it from us.
Yeah. Just one quick question for you guys. Are you guys satisfied with the state of Michigan basketball at this point in the season?
Heck yeah.
After
We've
that-
exceeded expectations by a mile.
After watching last year, I was happy with just making the tournament. I think we've done very, very well. I think our run ends at Auburn. We turn the ball
I
over
think so,
too
too.
much.
Yeah.
But that's a great run, and I think the program's in great state. We clearly hired the right guy, and I think it's only up from here. We've got a 5-star guard coming in. We've got most of our players coming back. I think we continue to be elite next year.
Well, I think we're out of time. We'll definitely talk about Pistons, Red Wings, and Lions next week because I know there's some good things to talk about them. That being said, this is the Jack and Dom Radio Show here on WPX 91.5 FM H1 Marquette. Have a nice rest of the week, and we'll see you guys next week.